In order to get the dress pattern for the embroidery, it is necessary to draft its base and to alter it. I will alter the pattern with the mock-up method. Let's make the dress base. Open the automatic calculation table to draft the dress base. Enter all necessary measurements of a client in the table Measurements. Half neck circumference, 18 centimeters. Half bust circumference, 46.5 centimeters. Half under bust circumference, 37.5 centimeters. Half waist circumference, 32 centimeters. Half hip circumference, 48 centimeters. Half the back width, 17 centimeters. Back length to the waist, 39 centimeters. Back shoulder height, 40 centimeters. Back shoulder length, 12 centimeters. Back skirt length, 44 centimeters. Distance from waist to hips, 19 centimeters. Increase for looser fit, 1 centimeter. You select this measurement as you wish. You can leave a 0 increase, so the dress base will be very tight. I provide for 1 centimeter increase. That means the fit will still be tight, but with a little room. The automatic table makes the immediate calculation to draft the back and front patterns according to the client's measurements. Let's start to draft the pattern. For convenience, I recommend printing out the tables and the attached draft of the dress base and placing them in the front of you to see all positions of the points. You will need a ruler, a right-angled triangle, and a stencil to draw the armhole. I will draft the half-sized pattern for better illustration because the most important in this pattern is sequence of drafting, as all the necessary calculations are made by the automatic table. For speeding up the process and clarity of explanation, I drew the base pattern on paper with thin lines, which we should get as a result. Therefore, in the process of drafting, I will simply outline all the lines with a pen, following the entire sequence of steps in the table. We start with the grid. I draw a horizontal line of the back center on the edge of the sheet and measure the half of the section A to N equals 83 centimeters, as per the calculation. I draw a perpendicular line to the point A and mark the section A to A1 equals 47.5 centimeters. The line A to A1 is the neckline. I draw a perpendicular line to the point N, which is the bottom line. I measure the segment N to N1 equals 47.5 centimeters and connect the points A1 and N1, which is the front center line, A1 to N1. So we have a rectangle, A to A1 to N to N1. Let's mark the bust line. I measure the segment A to G equals 20.5 centimeters from point A along the back center. Draw a perpendicular line from point G to point G1 in the intersection with the front center. The line G to G1 equals 47.5 centimeters, which is the bust line. Let's mark the waistline. I measure the distance from the neck to the waist, or the segment A to T, equals 39 centimeters from point A. Draw a perpendicular line from point T to point T1 in the intersection with the front center. The line T to T1 equals 47.5 centimeters is the waistline. Let's mark the hip line. I measure the distance from the waist to the hip, or the segment T to B, equals 19 centimeters from point T1. Draw a perpendicular line from point B to point B1 in the intersection with the front center. The line B to B1 equals 47.5 centimeters, which is the hip line. I strictly follow the table while drafting and move down from one line to the next one. I start drafting the back of the dress base. Back width. We measure the segment G to C equals 17.3 centimeters from point G along the bust line. Draw a perpendicular line upward from point C and mark point E. Armhole width. We measure the segment C to R equals 11.6 centimeters from point C. Mark point K as the half of the armhole. The sections C to K equals K to R equals 5.8 centimeters. Back neckline width. Measure the segment A to P equals 7 centimeters from point A along the upper line. Back neckline height. Measure the segment P to U equals 1 centimeter from point P upward along the perpendicular line. To draw the back neckline, we connect the points U and A with a smooth line using a stencil or manually. Back shoulder inclination. Measure the segment E to E1 equals 1.5 centimeters from the point E down the perpendicular line. Shoulder length. Connect the points U and E1 with a straight line and elongate it. Measure the segment U to Y equals 12.3 centimeters on this line. Auxiliary point of back armhole. We divide the corner ECK in half and mark the segment C to S equals 3 centimeters along the bisector line. We draw the armhole line by connecting the points Y, S, and K on a stencil. Position of the side line CG. We measure the segment C to G equals 3.9 centimeters from point C along the bust line and draw a perpendicular line from the point G to the waistline. Point T. And the hip line, point Z. We elongate this perpendicular line up to the intersection with the armhole line, point G1. The table calculated all dart openings, so we can draw the backside and the front side lines. I measure the segments T to T1 equals T to T2 equals 2.3 centimeters to both sides from point T on the waistline. I measure the segments Z to Z1 equals Z to Z2 equals 0.8 centimeters to both sides from point Z on the hip line. Connect the point R1 with the points T1 and T2 with straight lines and draw smooth lines between points T1 to Z2 and T2 to Z1 using a stencil or manually. We draw the perpendicular lines from the points Z1 and Z2 down to the intersection with the bottom line. Therefore, I made the side cuts of the front and back. Position of the waist dart. We measure the segment G to G2 equals 8.6 centimeters from the point G along the bust line. And draw the perpendicular line to the waistline. Point B1. And the hip line, point B. We mark the waist dart openings on the back according to the calculation table. B1 to B2 equals B1 to B3 equals 1.9 centimeters. The distance of the dart tops from the waist and hip lines should be selected between 4 centimeters and 5 centimeters. I measure 4 centimeters from the point G2 downward and the point B upward, and mark the dart tops. I just need to connect the dart tops with the points B2 and B3. So the back of the dress base is drafted. Let's move to the draft of the dress base front. Auxiliary point of dart opening. According to the algorithm of the table, I measure the segment R to D equals 3.3 centimeters from point R along the bust line to the center and draw the perpendicular lines to the points R and D. Please note that the perpendicular line to the point D goes beyond the upper line. Neckline top. I measure the segment D to M equals 24.3 centimeters from point D on the perpendicular line. Neckline width. I draw a horizontal line parallel to the upper line from point M. I elongate the line A1 to N1 to the intersection with this horizontal line, point V. I measure the segment V to L equals 7 centimeters from point V inward the piece and the segment of the same length V to Q equals 7 centimeters from the point V down along the front center line. I draw a quarter circle with a radius of 7 centimeters from point V as the center with a compass. So we completed the front neckline. Shoulder length to first dart line. I measure the segment L to O equals 4.1 centimeters from point L along the horizontal line and draw a dotted perpendicular line from point O to the intersection with the bust line. Point O1. End of shoulder dart in bust line. I mark the segment O1 to O2 equals 1 to 1.5 centimeters from point O1 to the center. I measure the segment O to 1 equals 1 centimeter from point O down and connect the points L and 1 with a straight line. I connect the points 1 and O2 with a straight line and complete the first side of the dart with the top in the point O2. Point for shoulder cut direction. I mark the segment C to W equals 12.1 centimeters from the point C upward and connect the points W and M with a line. Shoulder dart. I measure the segment M to F equals 4.1 centimeters from the point M along the line M to W. I connect the points F and O2 with a straight line, which is the second side of the dart with the top in the point O2. Now we need to level the dart sides. Measure the distance from point 1 to the top of the dart, the segment 1 to O2, and mark this distance from the point O2 along the line O2 to F. These segments often coincide as in our case. However, sometimes it is necessary to add an additional point in 2 to 5 millimeters down to point F. It is necessary to mark the segment F to J equals 8.2 centimeters from point F along the line F to W. Let's find the auxiliary armhole point. We draw the bisector of the right angle with the top in point R, which divides the angle in half, and mark the segment R to 2 equals 2 centimeters along the bisector. Auxiliary armhole point. I measure the segment R to X equals 4.8 centimeters from point R upward along the vertical line. Shoulder inclination. We draw a perpendicular line from point J to the line F to W and mark the segment J to E equals 2 centimeters on this line. We connect the points E and X with a straight line, divide the distance in half, and mark the point E1. Draw a perpendicular line to the point E1 and measure 1 centimeter on it. Thus, we marked all points for the armhole. We connect the points E, 1, X, 2, and K with a smooth line and get the armhole line using a stencil. I connect points F and E with a straight line. We finish the segments of the shoulder cut. Shoulder to dart, shoulders from dart to armhole. Now we just need to draw the waist dart. We have already finished the side line, so we skip these lines in the table. I mark the segment T1 to 2 equals 2 centimeters from the point T1 down and connect the points T2 and 2 with a smooth line using a stencil. I do a similar operation with the bottom line. We go down vertically from point N1 by 2 centimeters and connect the resulting point with the point of intersection of the side and bottom lines. I draw a perpendicular line from point O2 downward. The intersection with the hip line is marked with point A. The intersection with the new waistline is the point A1. I draw a short horizontal line from point A1, where I measure the segments from point A1 equal to half the front dart opening. A1 to A2 equals A1 to A3 equals 3.5 centimeters. We put the points of the tops of the dart. I move down by 5 centimeters from the point O2 on the bust line, and I go up by 5 centimeters from the point A on the hip line. When I determine the points of the dart tops, I connect them with the points A2 and A3 with the straight lines. The dress base pattern is complete. Everything is completed quickly and simply when there is the automatic table and a scheme of what you should get in front of you. Now, according to this pattern, which you will certainly draw in full size, you need to cut out the pieces of the dress from the mock fabric. If you work on a good dress form that has marked front and back center lines, you can just cut a mock-up for half of the dress. Cut out 2 halves and sew the entire mock-up of the dress if your dress form is not symmetrical. The finished mock-up should be put on the dress form. You should put a corset mock-up on the dress form first, if you plan to have a corset under this dress.